Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Actually, each time that I prepare for my video, I make up my mind that I'm going to ask you about yourself. I'm going to ask all of you how you've been, and I'm going to tell you about myself, what I've been doing. But as soon as I say hi guys, I just want to move on to the book. I forget everything else. Even this time, I had made up my mind that this would be the episode in which I'm going to be a nice, very gracious host and all that. But nothing doing. As soon as Hi Guys comes out, I have to start talking about the book. So let's move on to that. Actually, today I'm not going to talk about one book. I'm going to talk about one character. A character who I adore. Okay, this character is called Agatha Raisin, and she is kind of like a detective. So Agatha Raisin is the creation of the author called M.C.Beaton. And M.C.Beaton is the pseudonym of a very prolific writer called Marion Chesney. And I call her prolific because she's written nearly 600 books, 600 novels in different genres, mainly in historical romance fiction. But she's written under several pseudonyms. I think at least four pseudonyms. And later, after all that, she started writing detective stories. And she has written about two detectives. Actually, they're not detectives. One of them is called Hamish. He's a police constable in a small hamlet in Scotland. So he's Hamish Macbeth. So there is an entire series about him which is about 35 books. Then she writes about the character I'm going to talk about today, that is Agatha Raisin. And again, this is another 31 books. So you can just imagine the amount of books she's written. And since she became most popular through these two series of books, I think all the other books are now available in her name as M.C.Beaton. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2019, but she has left behind an amazing legacy. So let me talk about Agatha Raisin now. So Agatha Raisin is a 50 plus character. She's in her early 50s, and she has had a very active life in London. She owns her own PR firm, and she has been she's been very hardworking, always working throughout her life. And she had a very difficult childhood, and her parents were quite unconcerned, and it was very difficult for her. She's been fending for herself for quite a long time. But she has one golden memory of her childhood, and that is when she went for a holiday with her parents to this place called Cotswolds in England, which is one of the most scenic and beautiful places in England. So she remembers that, and for her, she associates happiness with that particular memory. So she has decided that somewhere, sometime in her life, she's going to buy a little cottage in the Cotswolds and settle down there. So there comes that time. I mean, she's in her early 50s and she decides enough is enough. I'm going to sit back and enjoy and relax. So she sells her PR firm and she buys this very cute little cottage in this village called Carsley in the Cotswolds. And she moves there. Now, Agatha Raisin is a very quirky character. She is not somebody who is extremely likable because she is brash, she is opinionated. She will talk whatever she feels is the right thing. So she's not going to keep quiet just to maintain peace. She will say whatever is in her mind. Very strong character, slightly unlikable sometimes, but really very endearing. So Agatha Raisin decides, okay, I'm going to have a very happy retired life, and she goes and settles in this. She goes and starts living in this village. She goes and lives in her cottage in the Cotswolds. So in that village, see, Agatha Raisin wants to be liked by everybody. She wants to be accepted by everybody, welcomed by them, and given a lot of attention. None of this happens. Yeah, I mean, it is but natural because village life, people are slightly wary of strangers, and somebody like Agatha who does not mince her words. So you can just imagine how it's going to be. Agatha meets certain characters there, and she meets the local vicar's wife, Mrs. Bloxby. And Mrs. Bloxby is a very kind character. And Mrs. Bloxby somehow loves Agatha. She somehow sees that within this woman is this very soft creature who just wants to be loved. Agatha really wants to be loved, She wants to be loved and she wants to be taken care of. but she's got this strong independent streak. So in the first book in the series is called Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death. So what happens is Agatha has settled down, but she finds she's becoming very bored. She's not used to this inactivity. She's always been doing something throughout her life. So she's bored and she realizes that not everybody is trooping to her door to become her friends. So she sees an advertisement for a quiche competition, a local quiche competition. So she's like, okay, I'm going to take part, I'm going to win this, and they're all going to, realize what a wonderful person I am. But Agatha Raisin cannot cook for nuts, and she does not like cooking, okay? She's always been subsisting on microwave dinners, frozen meals. It's supposed to be home baked, okay? But she's like, I don't care, I just want a quiche. So she goes to a lovely bakery in London and she gets a beautiful quiche and she enters it for the competition. Now what happens is that the judge is very critical of her, okay? He snubs her, and so, but what happens is the judge eats her quiche and he dies, he falls dead. So there are a lot of other entries to the competition. Other people have entered their quiches also. So, but unfortunately, he falls dead after eating hers. And slowly people start suspecting her. And she gets very angry, okay? She's like, I never did anything. And she's even angrier because now she has to tell everybody that she bought it. And she has to say that. And the policeman in charge is called Bill Wong. Now, Bill Wong, over the series, ends up being a very close friend of Agatha's. And Bill Wong is still living with his parents, who are very, very protective of him, and they're very intrusive. And Bill has girlfriends, and they survive until they come home and meet his parents. Then somehow breakups happen. So that is Bill Wong, who becomes a close friend of Agatha's. So over the series, we find that Agatha, through being herself, makes really good friends. No, she does not change. She cannot change. She tries to, but she cannot change. But she starts making good friends. Bill becomes a very good friend. The vicar's wife, Mrs. Bloxby, becomes a very good friend of Agatha's. And Agatha has another trait, okay, because she wants to be loved. She wants to fall in love and she wants to be loved. So she's always looking for relationships. But the problem is, she falls for the most unsuitable men. And so things don't work out always for her. And in the end, she's like, I don't care, I don't mind, I'll be single. So she's like that. But still, somewhere there's a craving, and there is a very good-looking neighbor of hers called James Lacey. And Agatha tries her best to, woo him and to impress him. And so these are all the bumbling things that Agatha does, and she's very, very real. This character is so real because we can see reflections of ourselves in her. The way she tries to make friends, the way she wants to be accepted by people around her. At the same time, she cannot tolerate nonsense. So she ends up fighting with these very people. But then she also ends up making good friends. So the quiche of death is the beginning. And Agatha is not a detective, okay? She wants to prove her innocence. And when she sets her mind to something, she makes sure that she does it. That's Agatha. Agatha Raisin is so endearing, I can't tell you. I loved reading the entire series. The mysteries are well constructed, no doubt. But what I found more attractive about the whole series more interesting about the whole series was Agatha and her life, and how she tackles all the problems that arise in her life, and the relationships and the people, and how she goes about it. So that is what I loved reading in the series. Quiche of Death, followed by so many other books. Like I said, there are around 31 books. And I think in the 19th or one of the later books, she sets up her own detective agency. So that's what happens. Agatha leads her life. Through these books, you see the progression in her life. She has disastrous relationships with men. She has major falling out with her friends. Then she gets back to them, and in the process, she's also solving mysteries. So Agatha Raisin is a very, very lovely, quirky, interesting character. And this Agatha Raisin series, written by M.C.Beaton, is, I think, one of the most lovable detectives that you can find. Of course, there's also Thompson and Thompson from Tintin, but Agatha Raisin is another lovable detective that I loved. Her wanting to be accepted and all the things that she does to be accepted, but somehow ends up making it worse. At the same time, she's leading life the way she wants to. She tries to do different things, and then she realizes what she really wants. And she is evolving. This person is evolving continuously, and you see the growth in her. You see, even there are times when you really don't like her for what she's doing, but then you go back to falling in love with her again. So it's like you're watching somebody else, you're watching your neighbor live her life or their life. You're watching somebody very close to you live their life. So Agatha Raisin and the whole series is something that I feel that you should try out. I mean, I think you should try out this series if you're in the mood for something very cozy. A cozy murder mystery. I know it sounds very weird. How can a murder mystery be cozy? But yes, this one is. It's a cozy murder mystery. You're reading about the beautiful Cotswolds. You're reading about village life. And another thing is, see, we all have this, or maybe not all of us, but some of us have this impression that village life is ideal, it's charming, it's full of wonderful people. But people are people, no matter whether they are in cities or in villages. It's just that their behavioral patterns are different. But basically, they have the same emotions, they have the same feelings, they have the same good things about them, they have the same strengths. So that is another revelation that that I found in this, that village life is not heaven. Village life is not perfect. It too has its problems and drawbacks. So that is the book that I wanted to bring to you today, Agatha Raisin, the series featuring this detective called Agatha Raisin. So do check it out. Do check out M.C.Beaton's Hamish Macbeth also. For me, Hamish was slightly less interesting than this, because Hamish is a good guy. Hamish is a well-intentioned, good person. It's great. It was great to read about the Scottish Highlands, but Agatha Raisin wins it hands down for me. I mean, she is one feisty, one darling. So maybe not darling, but a very endearing person. Like I've been saying throughout this video, I've been using endearing so many times, but yeah, she is very endearing. So that is Agatha Raisin for you. I hope you guys have been reading. Please get back to reading, those who have fallen out of that habit. And I've been thinking of coming up with a series with an episode of books for beginners. So I'm working on it. Books for absolute beginners and books for people who were readers but have fallen out of it. So these are things in my mind, and if you want me to talk about any other kinds of books, do let me know, message me, and I will talk about it. So until we meet next time, you guys stay safe, stay well. Bye bye.